Okay, so Cormier's out of his fight with Rumble. So now they think what they're going to do is they're going to, well, not they think, but the 145-pound fight between Anthony Pettis and Max Holloway is now for the interim 145-pound belt. So if I'm just counting over the past 16 months, this is now the fourth time that the interim belt has been contested. And the regular belt's only been contested once.
Is that true?
Well, yeah, let's go down the... So first off, Aldo can't fight. So the first fight for the true championship is supposed to be Aldo McGregor in the summer of last year.
Okay.
Not this past summer, but the year one before.
Didn't happen.
So they then fight. So Mendez fights Conor for the interim belt.
Okay.
Conor wins the interim belt. Jose comes back and fights Conor, I believe, in December of last year.
December 12th. I know that because I made a T-shirt.
For the real belt.
Yep.
He wins it.
13 seconds.
Okay. Conor doesn't fight again. Conor fights. Conor does not defend the real belt.
Okay.
Conor comes back. He fights Diaz twice. Then he's going to fight for the 155-pound championship. So they have another interim belt.
Which is
Frankie.
Okay.
Versus
Aldo
fight for another interim belt.
All right, so that's two.
That's three.
It is? No, first one is Chad Conor. Then for the real belt, you got Conor Aldo. Then you come back to Aldo Frankie. So you're 2-1.
Okay, 2-1. Okay, so then this would this makes the third, not the fourth.
Sure, fine, I got it.
So I'm off by one.
Three interims and one real.
Okay, so Conor just wins. He's the coolest guy in the world. He's the two-belt champ. Cormier is going to fight Rumble at, what is it? What are we at? 207 or 5? What? 20, whatever the next pay-per-view.
Who cares?
Okay.
I hate that they've ever started numbering those.
Okay, me
It's
too.
a miss. It's a miss. What they should call it is whatever the date is. Why would you call it 206 if the date is December 10th? Why would you want to program me as a viewer with 206 in my head instead of December 10th? It's a miss. It's been a miss for 20 years. But go ahead.
Let's do the math though. So, and I believe if I'm right, the very first UFC interim belt that was ever contested was Randy Couture. He won one. And I sent him a text last night. I was like, hey, does your interim belt look any different than the other belts? And he was like, no. Okay, so let's get this straight. Conor has an interim belt at this present time. Aldo has an interim belt. Conor's the only one with the real belt. Do we agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So now Max Holloway and Pettis are fighting for another interim belt. But whose is it? Whose interim belt is it? If Aldo has an interim belt, McGregor has an interim belt, whose interim belt are they fighting for? And why would Jose's belt automatically be the real championship? So because they're saying his now becomes the real championship. Isn't this a little stupid?
I got confused even as you said it. So you said one thing I liked. You called the interim championship a promise ring. I thought that was kind of amusing. I liked your comparison there. But here, so let's back off a second. The interim thing does confuse me. I get it from a marketing standpoint, but the interim thing does confuse me because in the history, you can't have an interim champion unless you have a real champion that for whatever reason cannot defend his title. Historically, it's generally due to injury. So you don't want to cut the guy. If you do cut the guy, if it's a Josh Barnett situation, remember when Josh left, he didn't come fight for an interim title. Josh left as the champion. Now the belt's up for grab. BJ Penn was the champion. He walks away. You go fight for the real title. Excuse me. If you want to be a nice guy as a promoter and preserve a guy that's been injured, take Dominic Cruz, for example, you don't want to strip him because he's doing everything he can, but he can't get in there. He's not a closet champion. He's not in a contract dispute, but you got to do something with that title. You have an interim belt. To your larger point, I think this is what your point is, because it's what mine would be, is Jose Aldo is the champion, but he's not hurt. He's not in a contract dispute. So you cannot intern his title. You can't have for the interim until he's better.
And
he's better right now.
The real belt belongs to Conor. Do we agree on that?
Well, no, they stripped him.
Okay.
They stripped him.
Okay,
so it does belong to Jose.
Because he has the interim belt.
No, they advanced him from his interim champion to the real champion. There's actually no problem with that. That's how it's supposed to work. If an interim champion can become the real champion, if the real champion doesn't come back. In Conor's case, he's not coming back. He's left the division. Where the conflict comes in, at least from a historical standpoint, is now putting an interim belt up for grabs when the reigning champion, the true champion, is there. You only have an interim champion when the real champion steps aside for whatever reason, and generally it's injury, but it doesn't have to be. It could be injury, it could be contract dispute, it could be a million different things. Frank Mir hit by a bus one time. It can be a lot of different things. Never is it while the reigning champion is healthy, active, and ready to go do you then have an interim champion. It's just never happened.
Here's where I disagree with you. If you strip him and you have the interim belt, the interim belt now must fight somebody for his championship. You don't then create a new interim belt. If you did, now the only reason they're doing this, obviously...
No, wait a second. That's what I said. You're not disagreeing with me. We're totally in agreement. We agree right there.
Okay, good for us. Perfect. We're on fire. So here's where this thing is jacked up. They don't have a main event. So they're going to put an interim belt, and they're going to spend 10 days promoting an interim belt. Nobody cares. Call it a world championship. The only people that know the difference between the interim belt are all of our listeners and all the hardcore fans. The people that buy the UFC every time it comes on, which is a big number, they don't care. They're going to buy the event anyway. You don't need to do a promise ring. You don't need to throw that out there. That doesn't make any sense. And it devalues your product. I'm like, why stop? Stop with this interim thing. Dudes don't want to fight. Usually they don't want to fight.
It's hard to say. So here's what's going on from a larger perspective. You have two different audiences out there, and it's hard to satisfy them both. So you have what's known as the hardcore fan, which is what you and I would fall into and our listeners would fall into. So it's very hard to piss on our back and tell us it's raining. We know what's going on. However, this is where people get lost. We only represent 15% of the market share. The hardcore fan that you and I and all the listeners of this program only represent 15%. So now there's a whole nother market where you can piss on their back and tell them it's raining. They don't follow it. They're not close enough. Saturday night rolls around. Some buddies get together. They push the button and get some pizzas. That represents 85% of the market. So they don't know who the interim title is. They don't know who the real champion is. They don't even know what the weight classes are. But boy, when that belt gets held up in the air and then put around somebody's waist at the end of the night, they feel like they just got something. When they see a poster and they see a good-looking, muscled-up guy with a 12-pound gold belt, they feel like they're seeing something. So that's where the promotion, it's very tough to satisfy both of those audiences and sell tickets. Now, I personally believe if you're trying to do that, just go back to the olden days of SEG, before Zuffa and WME, IMG, all this stuff even existed. Joel, do you remember something called the Super Fight? They had a super fight. Do you remember those? I thought the super fight was pretty cool myself. It's kind of like the WWE's Intercontinental Championship, if you'll remember, or the NWA's U.S. title. It's a fact to go, listen, this is complete garbage, and we fully admit it. We admit this is a second rung, but boy, we need that belt. That belt means something to the viewer. So, let it go.
Can I put those gloves on? He's got gloves on, and I need to put them on because he looks... I just need to, they must feel really good. They must, no, they're just gloves.
They're just gloves.
Okay.
All right. Now I'm know.
Sorry. Okay. Sorry. I mean, he's got these gloves on. He's got these little black gloves on. He looks like a big, buff, good-looking guy with gloves on. So
refocus.
Anyway, I'm focused.
Interim championship.
They need to get rid of the name.
Okay, but when you go, I think that's what I'm saying. I just said, exactly. Why don't you go back to just call it a super fight belt, or call it Saturday night's belt, or call it the belt we're using to sell tickets to the little old lady in Iowa.
Exactly. Just stop with us.
Sure.
Stop with us, because all it does is it creates the atmosphere that we have. Which everybody needs that goddamn belt. All they want now. Aldo has come out and said, "Yeah, I've always been the true champion. I'm the true champion. Conor's a puss."
Now Conor whipped him
in 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's hard to get around. Boy, I made some excuses in my career, but I never made one in 13 seconds.
Let me, oh, God, I can't wait. Oh, God, I want to talk about Tito so bad. I want to get...
Stay focused here. You were on gloves a sec. Stay focused.
All right, I know, but...
Interim championship.
I kind of want to tell Tito to shut up. Dude, pinned you in 47 seconds. Nobody beats that guy up. But anyway, let's stay here. All right. They got to get rid of that name. And just fight. Just fight, man. Just don't have so many goddamn cards. You're having too many cards because now you lose your main eventer. And we'll get back to Mr. Cormier. You feel like you have to do something. The new owners have to do something. Okay, let's take Conor's belt away, and let's fight for a fake belt. Let's fight for another promise ring.
All right, now hold on though. I hear what you're saying. However, business-wise, they have an obligation. They have obligations all over the place where they've got venue. I mean, whether it's global, they've got deals with, whether it's North American deals, where it's Fox right here that we know about in America. They have to have a certain amount of programming. So you can't just start pulling back on the dates unless you want to redo all of those contracts. I even get the belt. I get the importance of the belt. But when you've got your one market, which is the hardcore fan, who we all are, and then you've got the rest of your market, which comprises most of your business, 85%, which is just the people around town that aren't following it. There has to be a way they can work in conjunction. And when you do an interim belt when the current champion is healthy, which has never been done, in fairness, it has never been done where a current sitting reigning champion who is healthy and ready to go then also has an interim for the same time. When you do that, now the athletes don't care. So if you get to where you're trying to please the fan, but the boys in the back now don't care, and you're getting guys that are coming out doing interviews, Nate Diaz, by example, one going, I don't care about the belt. Nick Diaz, by another, going, listen, the belt doesn't mean anything. The problem is when he's right. When Diaz turns out to be right, devaluing your most important product that each division has to offer, which is the championship, you then have a problem. That has to stay coveted. And I just think that there could be a correction in place. And they're going, hey, to hell with the hardcore fan. We're going after the 85% that makes up the market. It's like, not so fast. Not so fast. Those lines start to get blurred. And I just think it's weird. So is this what's happening? I'm not actually totally up to speed on this. So Conor, I apologize, Jose Aldo is officially the world champion, but now they're going to bring in an interim title while he's healthy.
Yes.
Okay, so I do have it right.
You've got it right. Now what this means to me is there's now only 2 fights for Conor. What's the money on that, Hoss? There's 2 fights for Conor.
All right.
There's Woodley at $170, and there's the trio match with Diaz. That's the only 2 fights right now that I want to hear about.
All right.